The Lord be with you. I've recorded this short message for Sunday, the 29th of March 2020. It would be the 5th Sunday of Lent, and normally we'd be in Church of the Good Shepherd in Sion Mills and Christ Church in Urney. But because of the restrictions, because of the coronavirus and all that's going on around us, we're having to think of church in a different way. Before I read to you a portion of what the reading was supposed to be for this Sunday, I want to say thank you to all of you who have been giving me encouragement throughout the week, and I've valued your prayers as well. And it really warms my heart to know that we, as a church, even though the church buildings are closed, we are still a worshipping community. And that really does warm my heart. I've asked that the church bells would be rung today at the normal times that we would have started church. And that's just to remind the community too that the church is still at its business of worshipping God. So we turn to our reading for today, and today is, as I say, the 5th Sunday of Lent, and we're thinking about the death of Lazarus. And I'm not going to read all that has been assigned for this day. Just want to focus on some verses from John chapter 11, verses 38 onwards. Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there's a stench because he has been dead for 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to him, "Unbind him and let him go." Now, if I was to try and sum up in one word what I think that short passage was about, I think I would have to choose the word belief. In the previous chapter, we see that many of the Jews had rejected Jesus, and some of them were furious with him. They were calling him a blasphemer, and already some were plotting how were they going to get rid of this man called Jesus. And that even infected some of the thinking of the disciples in the early part of chapter 11. And Jesus is on his way, and he's on his way to his friend's Lazarus' house, and Mary and Martha is going to be there, but Lazarus is already dead. And the one verse, I'm sure you're familiar with that story, but the one verse that I want us to focus on is verse 40. Jesus said to Martha, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" Those are the words he said to her before he raised Lazarus back to life. Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? Now, these words are spoken just before Jesus makes his triumphant entry into Jerusalem and the events leading up to his crucifixion. And here it is demonstrated that Jesus has authority over death. Now, death is a word that is becoming more and more common these days as the virus continues to increase. And I hear people say things like, how do we make sense of this, and how do we console people? How do we give people hope? And there is no hope in us, in ourselves. We have to look to God, and we have to look to Jesus. And thinking of this passage, think about the power that Jesus has, that he was able to command Lazarus, who'd been dead for 4 days, to come back to life. And all this is because he wanted people to see the glory of God. The glory of God.